The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is the mark of a great mind to despise injuries. The most delightful sort of revenge is to consider the person who hurt you not even worth getting even with." But how do you actually embody that mark of a great mind when someone is actively trying to belittle you? Have you ever felt this before? It happens right in the middle of a meeting or at a family dinner table. Someone drops a subtle barb. It's not an outright insult shouting across the room. It's a quiet taunt wrapped in a smirk. In that moment, what do? You freeze, you swallow the bitterness, you force a smile, maybe you even laugh along, pretending it was just a joke. But then night comes, the room goes dark, and your mind refuses to rest. The scene replays on a loop. You beat yourself up, asking, "Why did I just stand there? Why didn't I say something back?" The truth is, the moment you choose silence and a forced smile, you are unwittingly teaching others how to keep disrespecting you. It's like leaving the front door wide open. Next time, they will walk right in because they know you won't do a thing. I lived like that for years, simply because I didn't know how to respond the right way. But you no longer have to accept that feeling of powerlessness. Right now, I will share with you 6 concrete, calm, and definitive responses, tools that will help you reclaim control instantly, without shouting and without argument. Reaction 1. Own the reality on your terms. When someone belittles you in front of others, they are usually waiting for one of 2 reactions. Either you explode in defensiveness or you hang your head in shame. Either way, they win. So, give yourself a third option. Acknowledge the truth, but completely strip away the shame. Consider this scenario. A colleague says to you in front of everyone, "Working a bit slow lately, aren't we? Taking forever to finish this report?" Instead of frantically explaining how busy your week has been, you look them in the eye and say, with a steady, unbothered tone, "That's right. It took me a while because I'm doing it thoroughly to make sure there are no mistakes." Then you offer a slight smile and go right back to your work. What did you just do? You became like a memory foam cushion. They threw a high-impact punch with all their force, but instead of flinching or reacting awkwardly, their blow landed straight into your composure, completely absorbed, completely neutralized, without making a single sound. Shame only exists if you voluntarily accept it. When you confidently own the reality without making excuses, their attack instantly turns into an empty gesture. Reaction 2. Force them to explain their own words. People who like to poke and prod are often cowards at heart. They rarely attack you head-on. Instead, they hide behind vague comments and subtle sarcasm. And if you react, they immediately play the victim, saying, "You're just being too sensitive." That ambiguity is their shield. Your job is simple. Strip that shield away. Next time someone drops a passive-aggressive remark like, "Must be nice having so much free time lately. Work must be pretty easy for you." Don't just brush it off with a polite laugh. Pause for a beat, look them dead in the eye, and ask calmly, "What exactly do you mean by that?" Or you can simply ask, "Could you explain that a bit more? I'm not sure I follow." Now, the ball is firmly in their court. They are forced to do one of 2 things, either publicly admit they were being spiteful or stumble over their own words trying to backpedal. 9 times out of 10, they will retreat, claiming they were just joking. You don't need to argue. You simply make them confront the toxic words that just came out of their own mouth. Reaction 3. Issue a single warning. This approach is for people you encounter regularly, a nitpicking colleague, or a friend who constantly makes a punchline out of your flaws. They do this because they view each incident as a minor thing, something too small for you to make a fuss about. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once advised, "Immediately prescribe some character and form of conduct to yourself, which you may keep both alone and in company. Your dignity does not come from threatening or punishing others. It comes from establishing an unshakable standard for how you live and how you expect to be treated. The next time they cross that line, wait until your emotions settle. Look them in the eye and speak with a quiet, unyielding certainty. I'll let this pass this time, but I don't want it to happen again. No shouting, no idle threats, just a clear, definitive statement. You are granting them one opportunity to adjust. But if they deliberately step over that line again, you don't owe them another explanation. Enforce the consequence, whether that means reducing contact or cutting them out of your priority circle entirely. A person who says little but follows through on every word commands a quiet, undeniable presence. Reaction 4. Reclaim the floor on your own terms. When someone deliberately interrupts you or talks over you in a conversation, they are trying to force you into a subordinate position. Most people stay silent out of awkwardness, but you shouldn't do that. This scenario brings to mind Cato the Younger, a renowned Roman Stoic. While he was addressing the Senate, a political rival rushed forward and spat directly in his face to force his silence. Cato simply wiped his face with a cloth and calmly remarked, "I shall swear to all the world, Lentulus, that people are mistaken when they say you cannot use your mouth." Having said that, he picked up his speech right at the exact word where he had been cut off. When someone interrupts you, take the same approach. Don't shout over them. Let them finish speaking. Pause for a second or two, look at them, and say politely, "You make an interesting point now, let me finish what I was saying." Then, return directly to the exact point where you were interrupted. Keep your voice at the same steady pace, completely unhurried. Their interruption is nothing more than a speed bump on the road. It slows you down for a single second, but it cannot derail you, nor can it strip away your authority. Reaction 5. Genuine indifference. Aggressors thrive on your emotional reaction. They crave your anger, your frustration, or your anxiety. So what happens when you give them nothing at all? They drop an insult. You look at them for a single beat. No rage, no contempt, just a neutral, unbothered glance, as if you merely heard a motorbike passing by on the street. Then, you simply return to your work, or turn to speak to someone else. That is the entire response, nothing more. No one continues playing a game that yields zero reward. But remember, this indifference must truly come from within. It stems from the quiet realization that your time and mental energy are simply too valuable to waste on what doesn't matter. Reaction 6. Call out the pattern of behavior. Once can be a coincidence, but when it happens repeatedly, it becomes a habit. Those who rely on subtle jabs often hide behind the insignificance of each isolated incident. They wait for you to react, so they can turn it around and call you too sensitive. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the several quality of a thing nor its worth escape thee." Don't fall into the trap of arguing over today's single, isolated event. Look beneath the surface and expose the entire pattern. You can look them straight in the eye and say calmly, "I've noticed something. This isn't the first time this has happened. It's occurred a few times now, always following the exact same pattern. I just wanted you to know that I see it clearly." Speak with composure, not accusation. People only play these hidden games when they assume you remain blind to them. The moment you step into the light and call the pattern by its name, the game ends on the spot. After today, you hold in your hands 6 clear, composed shields. You no longer have to endure the awkwardness, force a hollow smile, or torment yourself when night falls. Remember, these 6 reactions were not born to wage war or chase petty victories over others. They are tools to reclaim your agency asserting your boundaries with dignity and unshakable resolve. Stoic philosophy teaches us that you cannot control the tongues or insults of the world, but you hold absolute power over how you respond. Every time you choose composure over anger, every time you choose to name the truth instead of shrinking from it, you declare to the world and to yourself your true worth. Looking back on the times you faced disrespect, which of these 6 reactions have you used, and what was the outcome? Share your story in the comments below. Until our next journey together on the Stoic path.